Hi there, this is Carl Irwin. We're going to take a look at mastering for orchestral music. And this is just a technique I've talked about before, but something that I've found to be very useful. It's not really a trick or a hack. It's just kind of an approach that makes some sense to me. I've never really seen this discussed anywhere else in terms of mastering. But we're going to try to do a manual EQ matching kind of process. We're going to do it manually. You can obviously get EQ matching software, but this is going to be for a slightly different purpose rather than doing a one-to-one match. What we're going to do is we're going to try to model an additive track to our master off of pink noise. And I'll explain why that is in a moment. But first, let's just take a look at the track that we're going to be working on. This is a piece I wrote a few years ago that I kind of took back out, dusted off. I remixed it in MuseScore. So this is all Muse sounds. And I added, first of all, I have to say that I think the number one thing you got to do before you get to this point is make sure that you are mixing properly, that you're getting the sound that you want from the mixer in whatever platform you are rendering out from. So what was not available back when I first rendered this piece was the ability to put effects inside of the mixer in MuseScore, which now we can do that. So I've done some EQ curves on specific instruments, set some balance a little bit differently, newer techniques. Of course, the Play engine has a lot of improvements since several years ago when it first came out. So I re-rendered this. This is what we're looking at. So I'll just go to the very end here, kind of a big energetic moment for reference. Okay, so it's an energetic orchestral piece, a lot of brass in there, a lot of woodwind kind of frilly things going on, and some string runs. It's a lot of energy. Now, what we're going to look at first, and this is normalized to -6 dB, as all of these reference tracks are. Let's look at some reference. So the first reference I want to look at is actually a John Williams piece. This is an arrangement from E.T., the Q, Adventures on Earth, very well-known concert suite version of the portion of the film score. And it's similar kind of to what we're looking at. So that's why I picked this one. And, older recording, but a commercial recording of a live orchestra. So let's listen to this. Okay, so we're kind of shooting for something like that. Let me give you another example. So this is a Thomas Bergerson arrangement using the East-West library from quite a long time ago, probably nearly 20 years ago. This render was created. I believe it is all sampled sounds, but I'm not sure. There might be some live musicians in here. This is for the East-West Strings, was a demo for that. Again, very similar kind of music. Okay, so first of all, it's louder, right? More commercial, more contemporary. Let's take a look at one more example. So this is from the Two Steps group. This is from the album Two Steps from Heaven. This is a track. It's, first of all, loudness warning. This is very, very loud, as you can see from the waveform. And I believe this is live orchestra. So there's no samples in that. That was recorded with a real orchestra. Although they do a lot of sampled sound digital audio workstation work, this was actually a real recording session. So first of all, the differences and the similarities. First, the differences are obvious in terms of loudness. There's compression and limiting going on, and this is kind of a progression. Most contemporary, this is extremely loud. This is what we call sausaged out, right? The waveform is just, and the whole piece looks like this if you were to look at the whole thing. It's just maxed out, which is something that people do. I don't know why, but they do. Now the piece is all loud, so there's that. We'll at least put that caveat in there. For this one here, the Bergerson, this is a loud moment, but there's actually many soft moments in the piece, and it's kind of between. It's certainly louder than the Williams recording from probably 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago or more, but it is certainly louder. It's bigger, a little bit more commercial, but they all have something in common in that they have a very, very bright sound. That what's happening in there in every single instrument, you can hear the bright quality of every instrument, even the low instrument. So it's not merely just about high frequencies for high instruments, but even on the low instruments, you can hear the artifacts that come with those instruments and the edge that presents with them, while still preserving all of the other frequencies that are part of the mix. The bass is still strong. The mid tones they have their place, but yet there is a brilliance to it, a brightness to it. And one way that I have found that you can accomplish this is with pink noise. So again, loudness warning here. This is loud. So that's pink noise. Pink noise is not a white noise. It doesn't have every single frequency in the spectrum all at the same level. There's a curve to it, a slant. In fact, we can see what that looks like if we do a quick analysis on this. Plot the spectrum. You can see that it starts at about 18, goes down by 20,000 hertz. You're down to about 47. And it's a pretty well straight line, right? By the time you get to 1,000 hertz, you're looking at about 34, maybe 35, 33 in that neighborhood. So this is, the quality of pink noise and its analysis. Now, if you look at any one of these others, and you'll see that all of these have very different spectrums. If I'll just grab a big chunk of this, and we'll quickly plot the spectrum for all that. It's a big curve here, and you can see the numbers are considerably different. Everything falls off at just prior to 20,000 hertz, which is outside of hearing, human hearing. Again, it's a similar kind of curve, but you see the levels are considerably different. It's certainly louder. And last one. Again, very similar curve, okay? But if we check the curve on ours, the actual target piece, we'll take just the ending where it's very loud, very similar moment. And you see it's not quite the same. There's a lot of low end to it, but it's really lacking in this kind of brilliant upper end. And the midtones, there's a lot of jutting kind of things happening here. They give it a little bit of muddiness. And again, if we listen to that in comparison to the other examples, it's just a little bit darker, kind of, a little bit warmer sort of sound. Is lacking that brilliance. So one thing that we can do, I think, to improve this is to mix in a rendering of this track itself, but one that matches a pink noise curve. And what that will do is it will pull back on those midtones, push up in the upper end, but also preserve the low end throughout for every single instrument. So again, you need to start with a good mix first. You can't take a bad mix and fix it with this. Now, one thing you can do is you can do pink noise mixing, which is a thing where you mix all of the different elements of your mix so that you can barely hear it over the sound of an ongoing pink noise track. And that will sort of set a kind of a curve instrument by instrument that would match the spectrum of pink noise. You won't get a final curve that looks like that, but it will set at least the instrument levels to match that. That's one way that you can get a good mix. I did not do that for this, and I don't generally do that in MuseScore, because MuseScore is already pretty well programmed to give you a good balance. But for mastering, it occurred to me that if we kind of did a manual match EQ to pink noise, and then we mixed that into the original track at varying levels, we can probably create a pretty good master commercial sound that gives us that brightness back that we're trying to achieve. Now, the one place I thought of when considering this was an old piece that I saw in the news media 30 years ago about, it was a prosthetics makeup company. So a company that did prosthetics, like facial or physical prosthetics for people who have some kind of injury or deformity, and they make like a nose or something, or an ear, and they make it to match skin tone. And the company was explaining that their model was really based on muted skin tones. And this is something that's become cliche, but it's the concept that they were talking about was coffee and creamer in terms of the full spectrum of human skin tone. And they kind of consider that skin tone is really one tone, and that what you have is a variation of concentration of the pigments that make up skin tone that give you that kind of variation in human appearance, at least in general terms. And they touted this as a superior way to think about matching color for specific individuals and their prosthetic needs. And all this is really, it's just paint swatches, right? If you go to a paint store and you find a color and there's a paint swatch that has various muted versions of that same color, kind of in a spectrum, it's the same idea. You're just muting out a core color with white to get a spectrum of colors that can work well together within one family. And, in thinking about that, that's kind of what we're looking at here. We're going to take our base, which is this, right? And then we're going to add an element that can be mixed in at varying degrees to give you the proper outcome that you're looking for, that being pink noise. So the more saturation or definition you want, the more you can mix in this pink noise matched curve. And another place that I went was with these online mastering tools that they have. So this automated online mastering. And there's a lot of things that are going on, but one of the things that I think is happening is some matching EQ to models that exist within the system. So this is BandLab mastering. And if you look, they give you all of these presets, right? Universal, fire, clarity, tape. And if you listen to them, it really does sound like kind of variations of what we're talking about. It's about an increase or decrease in a particular saturation of these sort of sparkling high frequencies. There's a little bit more to it than that. They have some spatial effects that they're applying to them too. But if we can at least do that, then we have a mix by which we can just merely do compression and get the loudness the way we want to fit whatever your desires are. More classical kind of recording, which is more reserved, or a very, very commercial contemporary one, which is sausaged right out, which I don't recommend, but again, that is a thing that people do. So we're going to try to create this ability to get variations by increasing or decreasing the mix of a curve. So let's copy this track, and we're going to mix it to a new track. So we have the exact same thing. It's a duplication. And we'll solo the bottom one. And the first thing I'm going to do is, this is already mixed to -6, so you would want to do that to start with. And if I look at my curve here for my pink noise, it's 18 dB, 47, about 34 at 1000. I just want to get a curve that looks like that, at least the mean curve. It's not going to be identical, but the mean curve, we want it to look like that on the loudest part, okay? So first I'm going to grab the loudest part out here and do a quick analysis. I can see that I have 36 out here in the end. Actually, I should be looking about, 50 hertz, about 36. And there's a big bump here around, what is it, 150? That takes up to 24. I just want to look at the ends to start with and probably the middle. So the middle here, we're at 36-ish. And this should be around 32. So this isn't far off. The middle, we need to go up. Up is down in this case. So we need to go up about 3-4 clicks at 1000 hertz. And out here, this is down to 78. We need to go up to 47. So I'll just pull up our trusty calculator here. Out at the front, we're at 33. We want this to go to 18. So we'll do 33 minus 18. That gives us 15 variation. So I'll go to a notepad here. We're going to go plus 15. And then we'll tab over. And in the middle, what did we say? It's going to go, what direction? We need to go to about 32. We're going to go plus about 3. And over here, for the bottom, we have on the low end at 20,000 hertz, it's about 82, about 82. So we want to go 82 minus, it was 47 was our target. So that's going to be a plus 35. So we'll put plus 35. So this is what we're going to create with our curve, and we can get rid of this. We'll bring our notes back up again. So 15, 3, and 35. And I'll select the whole track. We'll go to Effect, EQ, Filter Curve. Flatten this out. 15, 3, 35. So the first one we're going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place a 0 way past 20,000 so we get a fall off. And what was that again? Very slippery, but 15, 3, 35. So 15, we're going to take this one up to 15, 12, 13, 14, 15, about to there. This should actually be at about 50 hertz, which is where the spectrum ends at. And then, what was it, 3? Plus 3. So this should be plus 3 from 0. So we're going to go down here halfway to 6. And then 35 is at the end. Now this caps out at 30. I'm just going to take this up to the roof, and then we'll do a secondary curve to kind of create a more specific outcome. But this will get us in the ballpark. So we're plus 30 at the top here. And we'll apply this curve. But first what we'll do is we'll kind of smooth this out a little bit. And because this is concave, it should try to flatten out some of those big jumps that we have in there. I do seem to remember that between around 150, there was a bit of a dip, or rather a peak. So I'm going to pull this back a little bit more. And we'll apply it. So I'm just going to grab this end, and we'll plot the spectrum again. And we're pretty close. We're pretty close here. So again, around 150, there's a big bump there we're going to want to fix. This comes down to about 40, about 49. So this needs to go up about 2. This needs to go up about 1. And we need to pull back at 150. And at 1000 hertz, we're crossing right about at 32. So that's great. We're doing really good. Let's close this out. We're going to run a curve again. Effect. Filter curve EQ will flatten this out. And same thing, we're just going to go up here 4-ish. Bring this down to 0 for a fall off. At 50 hertz, we're going to go up just 1. And then I want to get a dip here. We're going to hold this down close to where we were at. And a dip around 150. Try to resolve this problem here. And we'll apply that curve. And you see some peaks jump up there. That's okay. We're going to put a limiter on those to fix them. But let's check the spectrum. And there we go. It's pretty close. So this is pretty close to where we want to be. And you could probably go with this or refine it a little bit more. But if you listen to this, listen to what it sounds like. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to normalize this. What you could do is you could take off these peaks, use some limiters, but these are now roughly in the same sort of normalization. If you hear them together, makes it much brighter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this down. If I normalize this again we'll just take it down maybe to -12. And here again. And you can hear by just changing the balance of this, you can create more and more definition or less definition against your original mix. Mix this together to your liking, and then from there you can do your compression and enveloping. But anyway, this is just a quick kind of coverage of this concept of mixing in an EQ curve that matches pink noise on a secondary channel to try to create more definition. Anyway, best of luck with that, and happy mixing.